And good afternoon. Actually, still good morning. It seems like afternoon. Of course, as soon as I go on the air, Bob starts. I'm Bruce Pearson. You're with Jersey Talk Radio. We're live at the Jersey Access Group conference in Morristown, New Jersey at the Hyatt. And we're broadcasting live from the floor of the conference center. It's very busy here. It's a packed room. There's about 50 vendors here today, and one of them is Daniel, and pronounce your
Krozik, Daniel Krozik.
Krozik. Dan, thanks for being with us. You're with Tightrope Media. Tell me a little bit about Tightrope and what it's about.
So what Tightrope does is we try to enable folks to be able to help tell stories better, more efficiently, and specifically we're doing that mostly with the public access television stations, the government channels like make up Jersey Access Group, education. So we do a lot of stuff with broadcast automation for those channels, make it easier for them to actually run their channel, do reports, track the metadata, put the stuff up online for people to watch. We also do instant replay for professional sports and college sports. It's a product called Z-Play that we sell mostly to arenas and production trucks. Say a low-cost alternative to an EVS, but obviously a lot of times if folks are building a truck for ESPN or something, they have these particular models they have to use, like the EVS. But if they're looking for something that's a lot faster to use, actually a big strength of Z-Play, it's symmetrical. So all 4 inputs are also output. So it's a lot easier to use for somebody who wants to send all of the angles back. And then our third product line that we do is Carousel. Carousel is digital signage, so it's web-based digital signage. We're actually the first company to make a web interface for digital signage. So now we're actually 18 years after starting that. We're partnered with BrightSign, who's the largest of the digital signage players, and they combine their players with our interface so folks can update it on the web, have it dynamically pull weather, traffic, etc.
Well, and what people that aren't in the business don't understand is the real problem is the ease of access, the ease of development of that content to get it up there in a timely fashion. You don't usually have the luxury of having somebody that is very graphics oriented, knows technology, or has the time. It's usually a secretary, administrative person, dispatcher in the police department, or somebody that's a volunteer coming in. So that web interface, the GUI interface is a big factor in whether people can afford it. You mentioned EVS, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 for a playback unit, or B, whether it's easy enough to use that anybody's going to have the time or take the effort to learn it. If you've got to spend 3 weeks just figuring out how to get your name on there, nobody's going to use it.
And that's exactly it. Most broadcast tools are built around the idea of doing certain things, but not necessarily around optimizing the workflow for the people who don't have a lot of time. So more professional broadcast tools are actually usually less friendly for someone who has to just walk in and learn it. We were built actually out of users who are running education channels and doing 6 other jobs at the same time. So we've got the workflow that's designed to be the fastest. For broadcast automation, that's actually meaning that you only ever have to put information in once, and it follows through on your schedule online, on air, follows through to your website, to RSS, to an iCal calendar, ability to get out reports. A lot of other companies are making systems for playback, but they don't have the same level of metadata tracking and reports. So if the administrator of the channel now has to give a report to the city or Comcast, now they have to spend dozens of hours putting something together. Whereas with our system, they click a single button and it's all generated for them.
And that's not insignificant because more and more people, especially the systems, and I'm not sure how many of the systems really do this, but any of the systems that really want to maximize the offset of costs, they're going to try to sell direct advertising, or they're going to want to push for sponsorship of a given program. Type.
I actually when
people want to get numbers, man. They want to know who's watching, how long, where they're coming from, and so on. So that's not an insignificant feature. And there again, you don't have statisticians, you don't have accountants, you don't have people that are used to the marketing side of getting those statistics. The metadata And it's so easy to accumulate if it's built into the program, but if it isn't, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, in fact, we're actually showing
impossible.
off. We're showing off here at the conference a revised version of our reporting that makes it actually easier for you to generate and to generate public logs that can be viewed by the council members. And now, for the first time ever, we're tracking first runs in an accurate way. So it's usually a detail that the stations have to be able to provide. How much of the content ran between January and April or January and December was first run original content. And we're actually showing that off. We released it at NAB, and we're showing it off here. So
wow.
The other thing we're showing off, sorry to jump ahead,
no, not at all.
We're showing off new models of our servers. We've had a line called the SX servers. We sold thousands of them to the members of JAG and other organizations, and we've replaced them now with new servers called the Flex series. And Flex 4, Flex 2, Flex Lite, all of them have configurable ins and outs on the playback server, so that you could say, this is a box to do 2 channels out, and I'll use 2 encoders. And if you're a municipality and 2 years later you get a third HD channel, you can change one of those encoders into a decoder just by reconfiguring the box. So we found a way to make it a little,
right?
And on top of being HD, we're the only ones that can take all of their standard def files, convert them and play them with the HD, and we can do cross-format conversion in real time between 720p, 1080i, 1080p, 480i. Yeah.
So you're not doing the transcoding, reloading it, waiting for hours and hours.
So I worked at a competing company for a number of years, one whose name is on display behind my head, and
you know what? We're playing nice now.
Hey now, and I work with a lot of folks who purchase those systems, and they tell me that every file they make either has to go up to the cloud and come back within 2 days, or they have to dump it into a $55,000 transcoding system that they set up just to make specialty transport streams. I understand that it works better for the company's workflow who's deploying the system, but for the end users it's a lot better to be able to just drop a ProRes in, or an H.264, or a DVC Pro, or an MPEG-2. So as long as the file is a broadcast spec file, something that's got a broadcast frame rate, broadcast resolution, the right type of audio, we can decode it.
It's just about anything that's out there.
Pretty much.
I think you'd be hard-pressed to find something unless you're coming from overseas.
Well, it is funny. Sometimes folks will be like, hey, I got this file that's 25 frames per second. Right. Like, I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's PAL.
That one's not going to work.
It's from Indonesia, and we really can't help you. Sorry.
But you can drop that into a transcoder.
So, how many systems do you have deployed, for example, in New Jersey, would you guess?
Jeez.
Throw an unfair question at
That is a great question, and I don't know for sure. I know we have a handful of our cable cast automation with some of the JAG members. Edison's been using it for a while. Somerset's been using it. Then we have a lot of folks using Carousel, which is our digital signage platform. Not just the JAG members' TV stations, but hospitals, universities. Actually, though it's not in New Jersey, JFK Airport uses our signage for their air train, and it's all dynamically updated. So if you're waiting for the train there at JFK, you're going to see, 20 seconds until the next train comes through, and that's all coming off of our system. We were actually quite excited because recently in an episode of Louie, you could see our signage in the background as he's walking through the airport, and our designer got pretty pleased that something she made ended up in Louie.
Well, you bring up a good point, though, that you are much more than focused on the broadcast segment. And I can remember the days back when I was at William Patterson and the bulletin boards and how crude they were.
Yeah, right.
Basically,
early PowerPoint or Amiga.
That's what they were, Amiga systems at that time. And yet they served a purpose. Now you can roll in video clips and build in anything you can. So it can be a very, very rich environment. So it's not just reading the local weather and where the next sale is for the PTA and so forth.
So it's a good point you bring up. It pulls in information dynamically, and there's no cost to that. Most of our competitors who have
add-ons with it.
That's right. Most of them will say, "Oh, if you want weather, it's $1,000 a year. You want horoscopes or today in history or some useless BS." We let you put whatever information you want in, whether it's your own Facebook account or Twitter account, calendar entries, full public RSS, weather, traffic cameras. We can even have part of a web page that refreshes automatically. So if I had a customer recently who was looking at ski reports.
Okay.
And they can actually pull ski report data either programmatically or just show part of a web page every 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's very cool.
And there's no cost to this. That's the other thing I should point out about us, differentiating us from everybody around me.
It's not an a la carte system.
That's right. It's not a la carte. It all comes together, and we give free tech support for life. Wow. And the reason we do that is because we came out of folks running an education station, building stuff for their own purposes, and in our own experiences, sometimes the station has a budget, And sometimes they'll have 4 years without a budget. And I used to work at a company where if you didn't give us a couple $1,000s a year, we wouldn't answer the phone or help you in any way. And Tightrope's the opposite. Even if somebody bought a thing 7 years ago, has never paid us on an ongoing hardware warranty or software assurance, if they have a problem, we're still going to give them free tech support to try to solve that problem, because we've been in their shoes. We've been the folks running a station on shoestring and knowing that you might not have a budget for another couple years, so you got to keep it going, even if what you have is outdated and old.
Now, are you a software-based and hardware-based, or both?
It's both. So we're selling a piece of hardware, and the hardware is something that we're, selling as an appliance with our software on it. Now, Carousel, our digital signage platform, because that industry is, massive and often not broadcasters, they can buy that software and put it on their own players if it's JFK Airport or somebody's doing a lot. But if you're a television station, you want to be able to have something on a box that if something breaks, you can call the guy who will take responsibility for that box and the software. So that's how we sell. And we only sell through local dealers, dealers in New Jersey like Vardo or HB. So, we support the customers directly, but we also have the dealers providing that role.
And where are you physically located?
So the company's in the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minnesota, and then I live in North Carolina. And then
Really?
my boss,
Where are you in North Carolina?
just south of Raleigh, North Carolina, a little town called Garner.
Wow. So you're up here. Are you originally from this area? Because you don't have a North Carolina.
No, I'm from Michigan originally.
Oh.
I did live in New Jersey for a couple months when I was 1 year old, but I don't think that affected my accent.
It didn't pollute you too bad, right?
No.
I know Western North Carolina pretty well, so that's
Do you?
cool. Oh yeah, Asheville, my sister.
Oh, Asheville's just gorgeous.
Pretty cool town.
If it wasn't for the fact that it was a 4-hour drive, I'd still be on the board of an organization out there. But
Oh, really?
driving 4 hours and back just to show up at a
Just didn't
meeting
make
seemed
sense. Yeah.
a little tiring.
Well, that's why you got to use Skype.
That's right.
That's right. You got to Skype it in. Well, thank you very much, Daniel. And how long have you been with these folks?
I've been with Tightrope for almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in September.
And it's a nationwide product.
That's right, actually, and international. We have a lot of users overseas, especially of our instant replay product, the one that competes with EBS, starting to get picked up overseas, with all sorts of production trucks.
Having been on the network sports trucks out of New York, EBS isn't my favorite bunch of guys. They were very temperamental pieces of equipment. They were extremely expensive. $80,000, $90,000, $100,000.
And ours are $45,000 for a 4-channel HD system. Now,
4-channel, yeah.
Obviously, there are other systems that are less expensive, but ours are as robust as something like an EBS or a Grass Valley. 100 megabit per second recording, 40 hours of encoding with a box.
Right.
So, yeah, it's been crazy. We come out of public access. Most of our stuff sells into the public access market. With this instant replay product, we've got professional teams and professional broadcasters going, hey, we might want this in our truck.
Like everything else, the pressure of bringing the cost down, whether it's in crew costs on live events. That's why we're seeing RoboCams. And,
yeah, exactly.
One guy does everything like I'm doing here at this broadcast, or cutting the cost. The 53-foot trucks represent a very, very diminished market year upon year, because they're not going to put the budgets in, no matter what you want on these shows. And I think this is important because it's part and parcel with what's going on in the industry in aggregate, and that is you have microcasting going on. It's no longer broadcasting. It's 500 channels, 10,000 internet radio stations that have a very high quality demographic, but a very small number compared to the old days.
Everything is targeted now.
Exactly, extremely targeted.
And that's what I love about JAG and organizations like JAG. Well before we got to the stage of internet media where they're starting to say, hey, hyper-local, hyper-targeted, these stations have been locally targeted.
Absolutely.
They've been serving a niche that is their local community. They've been making something that reaches into
they know they're not going to get mega numbers.
Exactly.
But it's interesting to watch the evolution of the business model and the marketing model. Advertisers are starting to realize several things. You're not going to be on WABC radio here in the metropolitan area and have 12 million potential listeners. But the listeners that come to your station, if you're an internet radio station, are highly motivated to listen to that content. And quite honestly, if you're in West Jersey, buying a spot on WABC is not going to do you a lot of good for somebody on Long Island if you're a plumber. So it's wasted money.
Yep.
It has its place with the national sponsors and so on. But the microcasting, the hyperlocal, the hyper-targeted market is where they're going. And the other interesting bit that kind of, the element that plays into what you're doing is, it doesn't matter when the consumer watches the commercial or the content. The fact that they watch it is the big issue. So whether they watch it when it plays in prime time, or whether they watch it Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock when they're binge watching, as long as your commercial is embedded, it doesn't go away. And the same thing applies to the bulletin board. People are podcast, on demand, all plays into the idea that
That's right.
I'll watch it when I want to watch it. As long as I consume it, then the content gets delivered. So, well, listen, Daniel, thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Having me. I really appreciate it.
Great to meet you, and you guys make a good product. I'm familiar with Tightrope. You've been around for a number of years, got a good reputation. So keep up the good work, and I hope that the listeners and the viewers, if, like you say, if they're associated with a hospital or a school system, or an amusement park, if they work at a theme park.
Anyone who has a need for signage that can be controlled by a browser or automation or replay, we'd be real happy to talk to you. Our website is trms.com for Tightrope Media Systems. Yeah.
And we're in a major hotel. I assume that you have a product that's used in hotels.
We do, yeah.
Digital
Carousel gets used across. Actually, so we've done a little bit where it's actually deployed on the corporate level, and they'll put them out in all of the branches, and then they can deploy messages that are just in certain branches.
Well, like I see these banks with 5,000 branches,
exactly,
region-wide, TD Bank or Commerce or any of these large banking organizations. If they could centrally deploy their signage in every one of their, instead of fooling around at the local level.
And we changed our model for Carousel specifically because of those markets. We now give unlimited channel licenses with our server.
Wow, so you don't have to buy a new channel every time a new
Exactly. We used to charge for the channel as well as the players, and we decided, you know what, there's so many opportunities where there's 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 channels. Even though we're going to make less money off of each individual opportunity if we give away the channels for free instead of charging, I don't know what it was, $1,000 or something. It's opened us up to these larger deployments. So it helps bring the price down for the smaller folks, but it's brought us.
It doesn't penalize them on the big side.
Exactly.
So it's TRMS, right?
TRMS.
Tightrope Media Systems.
Yeah. Unfortunately, on Twitter and other places, we get confused with the Rachel Maddow show a lot. So we get a lot of very angry viewers of her show sometimes complaining to us, but we're happy to help solve their problems if they're technology related.
Thank you. Stay with me, and we'll get some of your follow-up information. Thanks for being with us here. And this is Bruce Pearson. We are with Daniel Krozik. I'll get it right eventually. It's better than mispronouncing.
That's right. I've always known they were calling me when they stopped before the last name.
And we're at the Eastern Regional Conference here of the Jersey Access Group in Morristown, New Jersey, live with Jersey Talk Radio. We'll be back with our next interview, our next segment in just a couple minutes, so stay with us. Bye-bye.